New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
This is What's Up and Why, bringing you the bright side of life, one fun moment at a time. Brought to you by the New Thought Media Network. Please put your hands together for your hosts, Rev Casey Taylor and Miss B Lovely. It's time. I can't hit the note as high as Mariah, but you know, a little falsetto never hurt anybody.
Never.
What's up, y'all? What's up? How you be, Rev Casey Taylor?
Hey, I am Rev Casey Taylor. I use they, them pronouns. Be lovely. I'm grateful to be joining you for another episode of What's Up and Why, where we highlight the brighter side of life, one fun moment at a time. And I am happy that in this theme, our theme of nothing is impossible. Do you hear a little echo on your end, Ms. B Lovely?
I do hear a little echo.
What about now? That sounds great. Great. Yeah, we got it. So as we've identified, as we're going backwards in the track list of Here for It All, and this week falls as Nothing is Impossible, and this is our final show for the year. I love that we came together to identify that this is the episode where we highlight our lessons learned and wisdom gained for this year. So Be Lovely, you want to get into it? What are your lessons learned? What is your wisdom gained?
I love how you just completely threw the hot potato at me.
Sure did.
So many lessons that I've learned this year. The main one was always bet on yourself. In the beginning of the year, I went into it kind of timid because of I was going through a type of a professional situation where it didn't really feel like I was in the right place. But I was like, you know what? This is something I've always had my heart in. It's something I've always wanted to do. I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to bet on my dreams. I'm just going to keep moving forward and just trust that what is meant for me will be mine. And I'm not going to be afraid of any rejection. So like for example, like applied for like this fellowship, this political fellowship that would potentially take me overseas. So very, very nervous about that. But if I wasn't betting on myself and taking that leap of faith, I would have been afraid and I did it. So I would definitely encourage people going into 2026 to try betting on yourself and try taking the leap of faith into whatever it is that you are wanting, because you never know, you just may get it.
I think that's really great advice. I have had great experiences with leaps of faith. And as I've been reflecting on my lessons learned, my wisdom gained, that faith was honestly, the way that I became a minister was because I was looking for faith. I was seeking out faith. I think I still got a little echo on if you can maneuver whatever you got going on your end. Maybe mute yourself. I'm not sure. But
I'm not sure.
Okay, great. That works. Wait, did it? No, there we are. Yeah. So as I have reflected on what a leap of faith has looked like, I had to find an understanding of what spirit meant for me. It had to be something that fit into the logical, physical universe. And so knowing and trusting that when my intuition was guiding me, if I had a dream on my heart, that betting on myself and knowing and trusting that it was going to pay off, no matter the fact that I didn't know how, that I didn't know in what way, but to really trust, that's really what started me in my education journey of wanting to learn what faith is and how to apply it to my life. But as we were talking offline, before we started the show, I mentioned that I worked on a morning news show for 1 year in Iowa. My first kind of professional job of completing my grad program. I worked at a CBS affiliate in in Des Moines, Iowa. And during that year, there were some lessons that I didn't learn. I had an opportunity to learn some lessons 20 years ago that I didn't learn. And I noticed in my conversation with you offline, Be Lovely, that 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 my 2025, that those lessons are just now starting to be learned. And what that has looked like for me, the biggest one, my biggest blind spot that I've had in my life is about control. When I have a problem, I think I have to be the one to solve it. I don't dance with spirit. I don't surrender to the divine. Like I said, I had to learn in faith to take that leap of faith to begin with. But once I took the leap of faith, then I was still in control mode. Okay, God's got me. God is God is my source, so my needs are met, my needs are taken care of. But I still was okay. Now that my needs are being taken care of, I need to be the one in charge. I need to be the one that makes things happen. And this year I've learned some lessons the hard way of how much control not only doesn't serve me, but doesn't serve the people around me. And to really just trust and know that what it means to operate fully from faith is knowing and trusting that God is inspiring all of the right people to show up, participate in community, do the things that I do, that I have all of the support, all of the wisdom, all of my needs met for my goals, instead of trying to control how they're done.
That's very, very profound. I'm glad that you started doing that, because when you release that feeling of wanting to be in control, of wanting things to go your particular way, you allow life to work the way how it was naturally meant to be. Like, I know for me, like as a Christian, we're taught, and it says like in the Bible, don't try to force your own outcomes and stuff, because God is the provider of it all. That God knows how everybody's life is supposed to go, and that if you just put your faith in God and trust that the best will happen and follow God's lead, that it will happen. And I've had to do that multiple times in my life. Like growing up, I had a very type A personality. It was like everything has to go like this. And then if it wasn't go that way, then I would have like the worst attitude ever, be raging and be mad at everybody. And when you're trying to be in control, for me, I'm speaking about my perspective, trying to be in control not only was detrimental to myself, but detrimental to my relationships as well. Because if everything's not going according to the plan, then that would ruffle relationships and stuff. And so learning how to accept how life is, like, of course, knowing that you do have the power to like help change the trajectory of your life with the decisions that you make daily, but being flexible and adaptable and saying, you know what, if it's not going the way how I envision, let's see how the world, how, the universe is going to allow this to play out. Because even if we do, our best efforts and stuff, what's meant to be will always be. And being able to let go of trying to control the narrative was the moment where I finally had peace in my life. It was like, you know what, I'm at bay, I'm peaceful, I'm happy with how things are gonna go, because I know that in the end, everything's gonna work out the best way it was meant to be. Maybe not how I envisioned, but it's gonna work out.
I love that, Be Lovely. It's so great to have learned that about you. And 2025, the way that that lesson has manifested for me is looking at this year under our current administration, under our current president. And I want to say that it's not about this man. Whatever I'm about to say has nothing to do with this man and his decisions that have been made, but the conversations that I've witnessed. When you turn on social media, there's a lot of fervor, there's a lot of fear about the ways that things are. And there's a lot, what I'm witnessing is a lot of judgment of each other, of you voted for this person, so it's your fault. And that's really kind of where I used to operate from. And I get it. When I think we've mentioned this on the show before, that operating from fear is this concern that if so and so is elected, I'm going to lose these rights. Me and my friends are going to lose our rights to be who we are, to get access to healthcare, to have autonomy over our bodies. And what I have come to understand over 2025 is that when our worst fears are realized, whether it is our individual lives or whether it is legislation changing that diminishes our rights for regardless of what identity we've got, that unconditional acceptance of recognizing that yes, my government has made these laws that have made either my life harder or restricted my access to services, but having a belief in spirit connecting you with those services, knowing and trusting that whatever it is that I need, I am taken care of, that I don't have to worry about what the government may or may not be doing or how my friends and family may or may not be voting, that what it means for me to be a spiritual being on the earth in this moment in time, in this moment in history, is to practice unconditional acceptance towards people who have different beliefs than I do, and to also operate from a place of faith, of knowing that any concerns I have about what legislators are choosing to do, my needs are being met. God is my source. I am being taken care of. And any challenges that I face come with crucial lessons learned that help me be a better me. That's the mentality that I've really needed to live from, so that I can lead with love towards people who I disagree with, while also leading with faith in my concerns about what happens next.
I really like that. We were thinking similarly because this year was the year where I finally decided that instead of judging people, one thing I always tried not to do was to judge people based off their actions and everything, because from the way how I grew up and the things that I've witnessed, I realized that everybody has something that's going on in their life that's going to affect the way, how they show up in the world and stuff daily. So one thing I had to like tell myself this year was, you know what? I'm not going to I'm not going to take anything personal that anybody does or say to me or that I see online and stuff, because that just lets me know that this person has something that they're battling. There's something that they're dealing with that's on them. And I'm not gonna say that I love to live in Delulu land. We was talking about that last week, how I like to be, delusionally optimistic. But I do try my best to like focus my thinking on forward, what it is that I'm trying to manifest, accepting things that I can't change, and trying to look forward to like, okay, what is it that I do want, and let's manifest this, let's pray for this. Like, my faith has been the cornerstone of everything, like with everything that's going on in the world. Having faith for me in God, like in something that's bigger than me, knowing that I'm going to be taken care of, knowing that, okay, yeah, it's dicey and stuff, but at the end of the day, like for me, I have a gratitude list and I always think, okay, I still have, these things that I'm grateful for. And that has definitely helped me throughout this year with everything that's been happening. But also reflecting, earlier this week, I had a moment where I was just thinking about where I started in my career, because like my career literally started 2 months after my father passed. And like the way how it even like manifested was like through prayer. Like when I was looking for a place to stay after he died, one of the women in the apartment leasing offices I was looking at, we were talking and I was telling her like the dreams for my career, like how I wanted to be a journalist and everything. And like in the middle of our viewing, she just said, I'm sorry, but God is just really speaking to me right now. And in this moment, God is telling me like I should just pray with you right now to help you along your journey. And it just came out of nowhere. And like from that moment, I just feel like God has been blessing me and has been helping me, because the way how my career has gone definitely wasn't because of all of me. It was because of my faith, God leading me, and the important conversations that I've had with people, like with you, like you've been there, like you've seen every step of this journey.
Yeah, what you were saying about this woman who prayed with you is
Mhm.
that reminder that God communicates whatever it
Yeah.
is that on our behalf, that God says to this person, do this. And I've noticed when I'm in need, for instance, just this week, there's a spiritual retreat coming up in Portland that I felt really compelled to go to, but I didn't have the funds for it. And I was like, if I'm meant to go on this trip, the funds will come through. Next day, somebody sent me a bunch of money and said, this money is for you to go to this retreat. So I was like, clearly meant to go. So that's what I'm doing next week. Something else that you said about your father, I don't know if I've told you this. The last conversation that I had with him at the family trip that we had before you talked about, you got that job 2 months afterwards. I remember having a conversation with him in the bathroom, and he said, I don't know, we were just in a bathroom, I don't know. And he said, do you think she can make it? Do you think that she has what it takes to make it? And I said, absolutely. I know with certainty that she's going to be an incredible producer. At that time, you were clear that, actually, I don't think you were clear on producing, but I was like, I know she's going to have a long career in journalism. She's driven, she's passionate. Because at that point, you'd had a whole lot of failures. You'd put a lot of effort. Breaking into the entertainment industry is not easy, and you were facing so many failures. And I told your dad, I was like, I know she's going to break into this industry and she's just going to skyrocket. And I love that, 2 months, well, it wasn't 2 months after that conversation, but it was the last conversation that I had with him. And it's been so beautiful to witness your journey and the ways that you are really honoring your father's legacy, serving as that example, that demonstration of your dreams, and grateful for the impact that you make on the planet for you being who you are. Props to that.
Thank you. Thank you. Definitely would not be doing any of this without the support from our family, my friends. And that's why having community, I think, is so important, and being intentional about your community this year. We're talking about nothing is impossible as we reflecting on 2025. I told myself and I prayed, I said, I want to be in community with like-minded individuals, people who would, help me to see life from a different angle and to continue to improve and grow and be around supportive people. And I was very, very intentional. I said, if there's any relationships that I'm in, or anybody who's in my circle who is not meant for me, please remove it. And there were some relationships that I had since high school that just fell apart. And I was like, you know what? I definitely prayed and asked God to clear the way. My grandma always said, be careful when you pray a prayer of removal, because God will come in swift and remove what you need, not what you thought that you wanted, but what you needed to help you in the future. And cultivating a very healthy, supportive, loving community, I feel has really helped me throughout this year to get to another level of myself that I didn't even know, I possessed or was able to reach.
I hear you. That community really is everything. And I love that you spoke this prayer about it, but also talked about the impact and the power of your word. That when you speak a prayer, and this is kind of getting to what I was talking about with control, is I've had these challenges of I speak a prayer, then it manifests, and I was like, ooh, that's not really what I wanted. So I've kind of gotten in this place of what my prayers are. And you mentioned this with your gratitude, is my prayer is just gratitude, let me just honor and celebrate everything that I have. And let me be open to letting God lead. I'm not going to tell God what it is that I think I need. I'm just going to trust. And that's what I'm doing. Is my prayer is my personal reminders of trusting that everything is moving perfectly no matter what. And this year in particular, there have been people who've moved out of my life in ways that I didn't choose it. But I knew something was weird. Specifically, I'm thinking about the funds, the misappropriated funds from our spiritual center, where in the months leading up to that, something was off. And I was thinking, I don't know. I really don't know what is going on, because I really didn't know. But I knew something was off, and I didn't know what. And so I kept staying in prayer around it of I'm open to receive what needs to be known. And lo and behold, I got the information at the time and in a moment where it was needed. Got the information on a day where I was able to take care of it. Our leadership council came in and moved all the things, and it really just lined up in a way to make it easy as possible for me to deal with that tragedy. But I let it be on God's time, because I'm noticing when I try to compel my time, on God's time, it's a wreck. It's a mess. But when I'm dancing with spirit, somebody gave me this image of letting spirit lead the dance. When you're trying to lead and somebody else is leading, that dance doesn't work. Everybody tripping over each other. But like when you let God lead, you're still dancing. There's still movement, but it's knowing that God knows the way and just enjoying the flow and the dance instead of trying to direct the moves. Changed my whole world in 2025. Oh, be lovely, you still muted.
I said, I love that analogy of dancing with spirit because that's literally what we're doing in this life. We are all, made of energy. I feel with my beliefs as a Christian, the breath does not belong to us. It belongs to God, and God is leading us. So like leaning into your spirituality, leaning into faith and trusting that my faith is going to carry me. Like also knowing that there's going to be some roads, some bumps in the roads. There's going to be some roadblocks. There's going to be some detours. The plan that we have for our life, it's not going to go exactly as we want it to go, but trusting and leaning into your faith, trusting and remembering, reflecting on, okay, these are the times where my faith, really helped me, where spirit was there, where spirit helped me, when spirit got me through this. If it was true in the past, why wouldn't it be true right now? So being able to recall the past of how your faith helped you, and then just also trusting that what's meant to be will be. And usually that is better for us because our minds are limited to what we've already experienced. But spirit can introduce us to things that would blow our minds that we didn't even think of before. Like the Bible says, I forgot what the scripture is, but it's like the Lord can do immeasurably more than you can ever ask for or think of. And that's why I say I live my life being delusionally optimistic, because I have faith that spirit can do immeasurably more than anything that I can ask for or think of. And there's no limitations to my life and what I can accomplish.
I just started reading the Bible in October for the first time. Just sat down, I'm starting with the New Testament and going through, and I'm finding that as I read, my own understanding of spirituality is absolutely reflected in this book. When I first started it with Matthew, I was like, I don't really know, but I appreciate that the Gospels are written in a way where you're reading the same story good 4 times from different people's perspectives. So I really got to understand the message, really understand the message. And I really found that my beliefs really are in alignment with a lot of the way that Christians interpret the Bible as well. And a couple of things really stood out for me of what you've said. One is you started just now, you started with how our breath, our life is not ours. It's God's life. That is what we believe in the science of mind. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. That is an affirmation that we speak at Centers for Spiritual Living across the world. And so that concept of it from a physical standpoint, and this is kind of what I was saying before about the energy of life itself, where how I had to have a logical definition of faith. I couldn't take a leap of faith based off of a spiritual book saying, yeah, this works. I needed to understand the science of life itself and recognizing that energy is all there is. It has never been created or destroyed. It is only transferred. The way that we speak of God is that energy, that one energy. That's all that has ever been. And it manifests itself as you, as me. And as you said, the Bible, Jesus said this, where greater works you shall do. There are these like really, it's this reading through the New Testament is really showing me that Jesus and I are absolutely fully in alignment. And one couple things that you said that I just want to make sure I get out. One is this concept of how we are all on our perfect path. So I'm finding that the majority of my judgment comes from this belief that what I think is right is how I think that person should be living their life. What I think that person should believe is denying the fact that they're on their perfect path, that they are learning their perfect lessons, that they are fulfilling God's perfect will for them. And it is not for me to decide what somebody else is right or wrong to be doing. Second Bible verse that really stands out for me is that concept of, why are you talking about that stick in your brother's eye and ignoring that log in your own? That I don't care what beliefs you have about spirituality. I don't care how you define God. That when we are looking at somebody else and saying, you're wrong, you're doing it wrong, and you need to be doing it the way that I'm doing it, we are fully ignoring that log in our eye, preventing us from seeing the perfection of God in action.
My grandmother used to always stress that Bible verse to me as a kid, like, he without sin should throw the first stone. You cannot be judgmental. You cannot hold anything against anyone because this is all our first time on this planet. Okay, we're all learning as we go. Nobody has it perfect. Nobody's doing it the right way. We're all learning and doing what's best for us. But knowing not to be, judgmental and to, think of other people less than and stuff because they're living life a different way. We all, like you said, we're all running our own particular race. We're all doing life the best way that we know how. Even if somebody is doing something in a way that you perceive as wrong, that's the best way that they know how and that they have their own battles going on. So don't worry about the plank in somebody else's eye. Worry about the speck in yours because we all have, as my as one of my friends always say, like, we're all jacked up in some type of way. We're just going about it the best way that we can. And literally, like Mariah said, we just got to do the best that we can with what we got. Because that's what I'm doing.
I love you quoted Drunk Mariah. It reminded me of the end of Here for It All. I'm here for it all. That this is just a rehearsal. Test
Yes.
right. You gotta praise the Most
Most
High.
High. Yes, I love that part, but that is so true. Like this life, this is all our first time going through. It literally is a rehearsal, but it, from my beliefs, there are no redos. But I also think there's no perfect way to do it. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to trip up. It's gonna happen. Just like a toddler when they're learning how to walk. You're gonna fall. You're gonna have some missteps. You're gonna make a little boo boo and stuff every now and then. But get yourself back up and keep on walking. Don't let anything, deter you. Don't let anything break you down. Just always remember, this is my first time going through this. And even if it's a repeat, that means there is a lesson to be learned. So what is it that I'm supposed to be learning from this if you keep going through the same thing? But don't ever give up.
I love how you end every episode perfectly. You're like, let me have all these conclusion dropping gems. We are 2 minutes away from our closing our show. Would you like to pray us out?
I would love for both of us to pray us out. So, like how you threw the hot potato at me today, I'm gonna start it and then I'm gonna pass the potato on to you.
That works for me.
Okay, so as we settle in, I cannot believe this is the last episode of 2025. My goodness. First of all, thank you to everybody who has tuned in with us weekly for this program through 2025. I really hope that this message and any message that we've had this year was able to like resonate with anyone. I am really just, as I go into this prayer, now I'm starting the prayer. I'm just a firm believer that everything that's meant to be will be. I trust that every single experience that all of us are going through is for our greatest good. It's going to help us, help mold us for whatever it is that our purpose is in this life, because we are all here for a purpose. There's a reason why we are here. There's a reason why we have the particular gifts that each one of us has, unique gifts. We're all not the same. We're meant to be different. We're meant to be in community and sharing our gifts, our talents, and ideas with each other so that we can all lift each other up and help each other grow and get to the point in life where they're supposed to be to meet their purpose. So I just hope that moving forward as we enter 2026, that each person taps in to their spirituality, taps into their faith, and taps into themselves and realize like this is all a test run. I'm learning, I am growing, and what's meant to be will be.
I am grateful to participate in this experience of prayer, grateful to serve on this show where we lean on, highlight the brighter sides of life, one fun moment at a time. I speak a word of gratitude for Tasha, as this is her last episode producing for us. Grateful for our producer Clarissa, our primary producer Clarissa, who's on vacation this week. Grateful for all of the support that we've received. Grateful for the New Thought Media Network for hosting this series, and grateful for everyone who has shown up, that has shared this show with their friends, and grateful to know that the expression, this existence of this show is leading, is supporting a ripple of love and light and conscious connection with the divine across the planet. I'm grateful that we have heard that this is what is ours to do, and grateful for the impact being made by our divine yes. And in gratitude, I invite us to close this prayer however we are most comfortable. I choose to close by saying, and so it is.
Amen. Thank you for that prayer. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in. I really hope that you all have a safe and healthy end of the year. Have some time reflecting, not just on, the bad that happened on this year, but the good, and look forward to, what it is that you want to accomplish, what it is that you want to see happen in 2026, because manifestation is real. Okay. If you can see it and visualize it, it can be yours.
Yes, yes. Have the best rest of your year ever.